After years away from France, his name had become more than that of a general. It was a rumor, a memory, a spark waiting to ignite. As Paris prepared for another uncertain night, a whisper echoed through its streets. Napoleon Bonaparte is coming home. He had left France a soldier. He returned something far greater. People lined the streets in silence, watching the carriage pass. No parade, no celebration, but inside their eyes, hope quietly lit like a flame rediscovered. He saw the city he once fought to defend, now tired, divided, afraid. France was waiting for direction, waiting for a man who did more than speak, a man who acted, and he was ready to act again. The government was collapsing under its own weight. The Directory spent more time in debate than in leadership. France had armies, but no vision. Power, but no purpose. They needed a lion, and the lion had returned.
We are running out of time.
No announcement was needed. The room simply fell silent as he entered. His steps didn't echo, they commanded. The ministers who once ignored him now felt something stronger than respect. They felt fear. He studied every face. Once, these men thought power was theirs to hold. But power, he belongs to those who dare to shape destiny. Even if destiny must be taken by force.
I hereby declare that the state of this nation is in danger of being overthrown.
Only
we must discuss this away
the
from
real
game.
Talleyrand,
The future
cunning
of
and
France
silent,
depends on your
stepped
discretion.
forward. France is
The
ready,
empire is
he
in
whispered,
danger,
but she
sire.
cannot wait any
We
longer.
must act quickly.
Napoleon said nothing, but his silence spoke louder than any promise.
The British
Late
have
that
broken the
night,
treaty.
doors closed,
They're preparing
and
for
curtains
war.
drawn. A different
This is
kind
the
of
only
war
viable
began.
route through the mountains.
No cannons,
It's
no
dangerous,
cavalry.
but it cuts the
This
travel
battle
time in half.
was whispered across maps and sealed with strategy. France would change without a single shot fired. He pointed
make our
not
stand
at
here,
borders,
at this
but
ridge.
at weaknesses.
It's the only
Not
way.
at enemies abroad, but at enemies within. This time, he would not conquer land. He would conquer power itself. One by one, the most powerful officers in France leaned in. They did not pledge loyalty to Napoleon. They pledged loyalty to vision. And vision, when clear enough, can guide an entire nation. Outside, the city slept, but France was not asleep. It was holding its breath, waiting for something it didn't fully understand, but desperately needed. Every great shift in history begins with a quiet moment, when a man is alone with his thoughts and hears destiny knocking. He listened, and destiny spoke clearly. France needs you. He wrote not speeches, but plans. Not dreams, but steps. His words were not meant for applause. They were meant for action. A new France would begin on paper. Crimson wax fell like blood from a future battle. Every letter sealed a move. Every word chosen for precision, like a blade sharpened before war. Morning broke over Paris, but something felt different. Streets seemed straighter. Steps felt quicker, as if the city itself sensed that history was preparing to shift its weight.
I need
France
those reports by
was
10.
ready.
Don't worry, they'll be on your
People
desk.
didn't know what was coming, but they knew what was failing. And sometimes
This is completely
that is
unacceptable.
all a revolution
We had an
needs
agreement.
to begin.
Circumstances have changed. We proceed my way, or not at all.
The ministers still argued, still delayed, still feared change.
You think you can just walk away
But
from this?
change was already inside the building, and his patience was running thin. He did not interrupt. He waited, And in his silence, the truth became undeniable. France had outgrown its leaders. It was time for a new one. He once prepared for battle with sabers and horses. Now, he prepared with silence and resolve. The battlefield had changed, but his determination had not. Another general arrived, then another, then another. Napoleon didn't need a throne to lead.
You may be seated,
He already
General.
had the loyalty of those who shaped nations. No banners, no applause, just a handshake. But in revolution, sometimes a handshake can shake the world. Troops began to gather across Paris, quietly, deliberately. Orders spread without noise. Paris awoke, not to war, but to inevitability. He was not entering as a visitor. He was entering as destiny. And destiny does not knock, it walks in. The argument stopped. Faces turned pale. They sensed what was coming, but none dared to speak. Tomorrow belonged to him, and perhaps forever would too. Gentlemen, he said calmly, France is in danger. Those 6 words cut deeper than any accusation, because every man in that room knew it was true.
We must consider the long-term
He
impact
spoke
on the
without
budget
raising
before
his
we can
voice,
proceed with the
Yet
modernization
every word
project.
carried the weight of a
We will now
thousand
proceed with the
cannons.
final vote.
Not anger, but certainty. And certainty, when absolute, is power.
Today we discuss the proposal for the new city park.
Talleyrand
Northern
watched,
flank must
knowing
be secured
history
by
was
nightfall.
unfolding in
Send
real
the cavalry
time.
immediately.
Not with thunder,
We cannot
but
afford
with
delay.
precision.
We will need more
Napoleon
troops
was
and
not
supplies if
seizing
we are to
power,
succeed.
he was earning it.
is dire.
We must act quickly.
1,000 men could not take that bridge.
Then I will take it myself.
Once the doors closed, France stepped into a moment from which there would be no return. That room became the birthplace of a new regime. His eyes did not wander. They did not doubt. In them lived a decision that would change Europe. France will no longer be led by uncertainty. Outside, clouds began to gather, as if the sky itself recognized what was coming. A storm was approaching France. But this time, Napoleon would not fear it. He would lead it. Europe was no longer waiting. Britain, Austria, Russia, all prepared for a new coalition. They refused to see Napoleon as a leader. Instead, they saw him as a threat that must be crushed before it was too late. Yet what they feared most was his ability to act faster than they could prepare. Napoleon studied every report, every battalion strength, every river crossing.
Take the 3rd and 4th
He understood
divisions.
something
March through the
vital.
night.
They
You
were
must reach the
preparing
northern
for
ridge
war,
by sunrise.
but war was something he had already mastered. If they wanted a storm,
Take this message
he
to the
would
general.
bring thunder.
We must move the 3rd Fleet immediately, before the intel leaks.
In a hidden chamber, he gathered his generals.
We have no choice.
No speeches,
The operation
no
is a good.
theatrics, only strategy. He said, "We won't wait for the storm. We will become the storm." And the room fell silent. They knew what that meant. War was no longer coming. War had begun. He pointed at the Rhine. That would be the gateway, the line between France and its enemies. To cross it meant risk, but the only way to make history is to step where others hesitate. At dawn, the army began to move, hooves hitting the earth, drums pulsing like a heartbeat. The nation
Men,
might
stay
still
in formation.
hesitate, but its soldiers
We're almost at the extraction
did not.
point. Keep
They
pushing.
marched toward the unknown, because the unknown was led by a man they trusted. As he rode, morale rose like fire. Soldiers looked at him and remembered his victories in Italy and in Egypt. To them, he wasn't just a general. He was living proof that destiny could wear a uniform. That night, he wrote to the people of France, "I do not promise peace, I promise victory." His words were not written for applause. They were written for those who understood that freedom must be earned, not requested. Ink flowed like a river of intent. He didn't beg for history's approval. He shaped it. Every letter carried resolve. Every sentence carried purpose. War was no longer about territory. It was about shaping the future of a continent. The cannons were readied before sunset. Men spoke little, for the silence of preparation often speaks louder than the roar of battle. They knew tomorrow would not be ordinary. It would decide the fate of empires. He stood alone, watching storms gather in the fading light. Most leaders command from safety. He commanded from the front. And from that position, he heard something no one else could hear. Destiny calling his name. The first cannon roared across the river, not just a weapon, but a declaration. Napoleon had crossed the line. The coalition expected a defense of France. Instead, they found a France that was advancing. War erupted like a thunderclap. The coalition threw everything forward, confident in numbers. But numbers are only strength when guided by purpose. Napoleon used speed, precision, and daring, and the enemy found itself chasing shadows. He did not simply react, he acted 3 moves ahead. Like a master of chess, he forced his enemies into mistakes before they even understood they had made them. As enemy fire focused on the front, French lines suddenly appeared at their side. One general said, "This is impossible." Another whispered, "This is Napoleon." One by one, reports arrived. Towns secured, bridges taken, armies routed. His strategy was not brute force. It was like watching mathematics come alive on the battlefield.
Remember that from these heights,
As the
40
sun
centuries
began to
look
set,
down on you.
he addressed his
Show
men.
the enemy the true
Europe
strength of
believes
France.
they can break our
Soldiers
spirit.
of France,
Show
the
them
eyes
that
of the
spirit
world
is
are upon
stronger
us.
than
Let
any
us march
empire.
forward to
His
victory.
voice carried through the
Victory
ranks,
is ours.
became their armor. That night, thousands stood in silence, weapons raised not in fear, but in unity. They were not fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for legacy. He looked at the stars and saw more than sky. He saw the path of great leaders before him, Caesar, Alexander, and wondered if his name would stand among them. The battle ended before sunrise. Victory was theirs. He ordered aid for the wounded, French or enemy. It did not matter. A true leader, he believed, conquers, but also
This
heals.
position is key.
They
cannot
thought I
fail
returned to lead an army, he whispered. But I returned to change the world. His words were quiet, but history would make them thunder. And thus, a new era began. Nations feared him. Soldiers followed him. France believed in him. But the world had only seen the beginning. If you want to witness the rise of an empire, continue with episode 8. The story has only just begun. Subscribe so you don't miss it.